Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Dapo Adegboye. The top stories at this hour. Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu appoints new management team for Net Fund. Nigeria to introduce new national identity card scheme with enhanced features. And then France says it is ready to build balanced partnerships in Africa. Details in a moment. News Central now at this hour begins in West Africa, where Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the appointment of a managing director and two executive directors to serve on the management team of the National Education Loan Fund. They include Akintunde Sawyer as managing director, Frederick Akinfala as executive director, finance and administration, and Mustafa Yao as Executive Director Operations. President's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Nganale, in a statement on Friday, said the appointments were in line with his determination to secure Nigeria's socio-economic future by ensuring sustainable higher education and critical skill development for all Nigerian students and the youth. Let's also tell you that the Nigerian government, in collaboration with the National Identity Management Commission, is set to introduce an upgrade in the National Identity Card integrated with payment capabilities and also social service features. Developed by the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, the card will run on the AfriGO domestic card scheme. According to Kayode Adegoke, the NIMC's head of corporate communications, this initiative aligns with the NIMC's Act No. 23 of 2007, aiming to provide a multipurpose card for Nigerians and legal residents. The enhanced card will facilitate identity verification and access to government and private services, promoting financial inclusion and citizens' empowerment while encouraging participation in national development efforts. Still in Nigeria and onto security matters now, we understand that the chairman and members of the board of inquiry set up by the Defense Headquarters to probe the Okwama killings have arrived at Delta State. The state governor, Sharif Oborofori, received them on a courtesy visit at Government House Annex in Warri. The chairman of the board of inquiry, that's Air Vice Marshal David Ajayi, said the board is in the state to investigate the unfortunate incident that happened at the Okwama community where 17 soldiers were ambushed and killed. He called on the government to assist the board in its inquiry to ensure the relevant stakeholders were invited to give account of what led to the crisis. Meanwhile, the state governor said his administration was sorely pained about recent crises leading to the killings in the community. The governor, who narrated how the state managed the situation, said the state government will do all it can to assist the board on its assignment.
We're here to gather facts from security agencies, from community dwellers, community leaders, because if we are to come up with reports that will help the Defense Headquarters take decision to forestall future occurrence and also to enhance the relationship between the military security agencies and the immediate community that they are sworn an oath to protect, there must be communication, there must be healthy communication. So it is to that effect, sir, that we are here to gather the fact so that we can make recommendation to DHQ that will enhance civil-military relationship and will forestall future occurrence of this.
Most people, they don't have knowledge of what is happening, and they speak out of not having the knowledge. Setting up this board of inquiry is a very good one. We're also planning to set up a board of inquiry. We're also waiting the action of the military. We don't want to rush into it. We feel that the procedure needs to be followed. The people have to be buried and find succor for them before we start doing that. That does not stop the investigation. In the other state here, we don't encourage crisis. But you know, in a big as this state, with so many ethnic nationalities, there are bound to be issues. But the way you're able to manage it, we are managing a lot of them. But we are fortunate that this one has happened in this way. We still have the Abuja we are managing. People will not understand. We want to assure you that whichever information you people want, we will give to you. We also come with our position paper to submit to you people before you will leave.
Meanwhile, executives of the Ukoko Avie Robo, that's Council of Robo Traditional Rulers, have appealed to the federal government to allow innocent indigenes of Okwama return to their ancestral home. The chairman of the council, Dr. Emmanuel Sediso Abewan, and the Ovie of Owie Kingdom made the appeal shortly after the Save Our Souls visited the council in Efun, Delta State. The council, however, stated that it was deeply touched by the pains suffered by innocent indigenes of Okwama and the neighboring communities, and also commemorated with those who lost their loved ones. On the part of the traditional ruler, he declared wanted by the Nigerian army and the subsequent surrendering of the traditional ruler to the Commissioner of Police, Delta State, demanded unconditional release of the monarch, while the independent panel of inquiry unraveled the facts behind the issues.
The Robo Council of Traditional Rulers restated their call for the setting up of an independent investigative inquiry into the immediate and remote causes of the Okwama military incident, as this is the only way the truth can be revealed and avoid future incidents. 2, that the good people of Ewu Kingdom should remain calm and law-abiding, as the council will ensure that no innocent person suffers unjustly. 3, the council once more commiserate with the families of the slain soldiers and the Nigerian Army Authority.
Nigeria's federal government says that the recent increase in electricity tariff for Band A customers enjoying 20 to 24 hours of electricity will relieve government of about 50% of funds used to subsidize the electricity sector. Nigeria's Minister of Power, during a ministerial scorecard series in Abuja, said that the increase has become apt, as it will also enable government focus on investing in other key sectors of the economy and also providing liquidity for investment in infrastructure. Now, News Central's Amadine Oyi tells us more.
The ministerial scorecard series was the fourth since its inception. In attendance were senior officials from the Ministry of Information and National Orientation and the Ministry of Power. The Minister of Information and National Orientation says that the series is aimed at informing citizens of government's efforts and performances in key sectors.
It is designed to bring information to the doorstep of Nigerians, because information is one of the strong pillars of democracy.
The Minister of Power, while giving an update on activities in the Power Ministry, also took time to explain why the recent tariff increase had become necessary.
As of today, before the introduction of the tariff increase, government is subsidizing nothing less than 67% of the cost of producing, transmitting, and distributing electricity in Nigeria. At the current exchange rate, this is going to translate into 2.9 trillion naira for 2024. This is more than 10% of the national budget.
In January, the generation invoice was 240 billion to the discos. Discos were only mandated to pay 24 billion. That is 10%. So that tells you that 90% of the generation cost, in this case, I didn't mention transmission and distribution so that you don't think that the figures are different. 90% of the generation cost was being borne by the government.
He says that the power sector must relieve government of the burden of subsidies so that it can focus on other important sectors.
Power sector is just a single sector out of so many sectors that government has to attend to. We have the works, we have housing, we have education, we have health, we have defense, and so on and so forth, that are all competing for this meager revenue from the government. So it will be very, very insensitive on our part to force or compel governments to continue to subsidize at that rate of almost 3 trillion for the power sector alone.
The minister also added that the recent tariff increase for Band A electricity customers in the country will make funds available for investment in critical infrastructure by generating companies and core investors. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Meanwhile, the decision to increase electricity tariff has not gone down well with the Nigerian Labour Congress, which has told the federal government to prepare for the consequences of the tariff hike, which is described as wicked and unpopular, stressing that since the government preferred to listen to the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, it should be ready to face the consequences. To discuss this, I'm joined on the news by political analyst, that's Kelechi Deka. Thank you for your time, Kelechi.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, how will the recent adjustment in electricity tariff for the Band A consumers in Nigeria impact government subsidies allocated to the electricity sector, and what analysis can you provide regarding this particular change?
Basically, it's something that we don't need to travel out of Nigeria or look into the books to provide answers to, because this is the everyday reality of every Nigerian, especially those who live in areas they claim are within the Band A metering system. There's been an increment of electricity tariff for up to 3-4 times in the last 2 years or 1 year at that, and there has not been an increment in service delivery. To say that some of these places are getting about 20 hours of electricity every day is quite preposterous, because where I live, they claim that is within the Band A area, and I can't remember the last time I had electricity for up to 14 hours a day. So what they're doing is that the government is trying to go through the back door to get money from the people without making effort to get the discos to improve in service delivery. So the people are paying higher amount of money for the continued inefficiencies within the system. So what we are not paying for a better service delivery. We are paying the discos, and so that they will help the government to relieve them of the subsidy, but without getting anything commensurate in return. So it's quite a very funny development.
I mean, you said quite a number of things. You said that you suspect that your metering system, the metering system in your area, is within the Band A category, yet you are getting about 14 hours of power. I would have, loved to know details precisely, because I remember yesterday the minister actually was talking about sanctions to ensure compliance. But what are your predictions regarding consumer behavior and overall electricity consumption in Nigeria following this rise in price?
No, it's not a matter. I listened to what the minister was saying about, issues trying to get people to manage electricity better or to do it this way. It's not. Nobody goes out of his way to waste electricity, especially if you're paying for it. My office where I work is within the Band C. Where I live is within the Band A, and comparatively, I have not seen any difference in service delivery between where I live and my office. And I don't see anybody who will go out of his way, especially at the high cost of electricity, and you just go and put on your AC and you leave your house. You allow the AC to be cooling and wasting. I mean, the minister was just being quite ridiculous in giving some of those examples. These things are expensive. The wage system in Nigeria, Nigerian workers and everybody, I mean, high inflation rate in every aspect is such that nobody will want to be, wasting funds on such frivolous inanities as the minister was trying to prove, because the services they have not improved on services. If you're improving on services and also you're increasing tariff, it will be understandable. But where the tariff is being increased and the services are also decreasing or remaining stagnant, it doesn't make sense, and that's why a lot of people are angry with that policy.
All right, let's look in the aspect of service delivery, which you have hampered on. The minister actually did say that one of the reasons for the justification, of the increase borders around liquidity and infrastructure. He said quite a couple of times that the sector is not attractive to investors because they cannot see any form of ROI, right? So don't you think that this initiative, in a way, will provide them liquidity to further enhance the existing infrastructure, which, according to him also, many of it is outdated?
Most of us knew the time this was. Yeah, we know the time this was established. We saw the policies that were there during the establishment of the discourse. And what the challenge at that time was that organizations and companies without any form of experience in electricity distribution or electricity management got licenses to start running discos, whereas organizations that were known all over the world to be very good in electricity generation, transmission, and distribution were not given those licenses. So there was a foundational issue. And since the discos came, what have they done to be able to improve on the infrastructure that they inherited, at least to attract investment? But what we've been seeing all over has been increment of tariff, it's been going up, increasing tariff without any service delivery. Increasing tariff is not what's going to bring that ROI that expected. Without service delivery, the economy will not be able to take up a level where people will look in our direction and start thinking of investment sector.
Now, let's talk about the potential economic consequences that might, arise from the Nigeria Labour Congress opposition to the tariff increase, particularly concerning consumer spending, inflation, and the overall economic stability.
Increase, particularly concerning consumer spending, inflation.
What I mean, what we're going to see is there's going to be an inflationary pool. An inflation rate of above 30%, as we have in inflation is about presently.
Okay, I apologize. We are unable to hear you well. There's quite, an issue with the connection. But we sincerely thank you for your time. Political analyst Kayode Adegoke, once again, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now to Judicial Matters now, where the Speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly, Gabriel Dewan, has sworn in 9 new members for the Assembly. Now, while speaking with journalists after the plenary session, the Speaker said the development became necessary after he received a communication that the sworn-in members had fulfilled what he referred to as necessary requirements. Our news centrist Chizoba Anyonwe tells us more.
Early Friday morning at about 7 o'clock, the Plateau State House of Assembly members had an emergency plenary. This is at least 2 hours earlier than the usual time the Assembly reconvenes. The reason for this is simple: to swear in 8 out of the 16 APC members and 1 Labour Party member that were declared by the Court of Appeal to have won their elections into the state legislature. Even with this, 7 seats remain vacant, despite the judgment of the appellate court that sealed every contest to the position.
This is a Plateau State Assembly. There are procedures. When court declares a member, that doesn't mean that you automatically qualify to be sworn in. There are other processes to be followed. Maybe the forwarding of their certificate of return, the CTC copy of the judgment, and so on. So far, so good. What I can say for now is that maybe the other ones will follow suit, as the case may be.
Governor Caleb Mutfwang was on hand at the Government House to receive the new members shortly after their swearing in, as led by the Speaker and his new deputy, Madaki Ajiji, who represents Jos East constituency.
We will collaborate with the House of Assembly. There are many things that need to be put right in our state, and it can only be done with an active, productive legislative house. And so we're going to ensure that we facilitate your training, your equipping, and your capacity to enhance your capacity to make laws for the good governance of Plateau State.
State chairman of the APC seems to be uncomfortable with this development when he briefed journalists.
We cannot continue at every point in time to bring negative news for Plateau. It is so disgraceful that what has happened today is disgraceful to Plateau, it's disgraceful to Nigeria, it's disgraceful to democracy. It is quite unfortunate that people who have gone to school, people who call themselves learned, are turning the law upside down. This is so unfortunate. We as a party, we take exception to what our members have done.
The House of Assembly has embarked on a 2-week recess to reconvene after the Eid al-Fitr holiday. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyonwi.
Fuel scarcity has resurfaced across Nigeria's commercial capital as marketers claimed that the depots now have limited supply. Experts blame the situation volatility of the naira. Now, News Central's Bettina Mweli tells us more.
Barely a week into the second quarter of the year, Lagosians are faced with yet another bout of fuel scarcity, a situation that citizens are not too pleased about.
They let the money on fuel. All the filling stations now, they had the information, they don't have the fuel. They didn't sell it. Maybe say fuel is scarce, or they had the fuel inside the tanker. They don't want to sell it because they don't want to sell at no price.
I've been here for more an hour. Then what we hear about the fuel, which is scarce now, they say Dangote don't start their refinery, and these people now, Nigerians, the fuel where they carry can't give us for Nigeria. They say they never said their fuel before everything they come out. Now the thing where would they hear?
Speaking to experts about the recent development, Gbolahan Oloyede, an energy expert, had this to say.
There were issues around pricing by the petroleum transporters at some point. I think that was part of what caused one of the February scarcity. There are also issues around supply. You mentioned the fact that NNPC had become the sole importer again. And the reason is clear. The reason is because of the instability of the volatility of the currency.
There were reports that the ex-depot price crashed from 640 naira per litre to 630 naira per litre for independent marketers, while NNPC Limited sold at 570 naira per litre. However, Olufemi Shoneye, Chief Corporate Communications Officer of the NNPC Limited, on Wednesday, dismissed reports that there is a downward adjustment of price on petrol and diesel at its retail stations nationwide. With the current economic hardship that citizens are currently struggling to deal with, as well as epileptic power supply coupled with inflation of foodstuff, the addition of fuel scarcity may just be a little too much. All at the helm of power will do well to nip this issue in the bud before it becomes much more of a problem. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Unwili.
Commercial tricycle riders, popularly called Keke in Umaya, Abia State capital, have called for leniency from the government following the imposition of penalties on some of them by the State Road Traffic and Safety Management Agency over traffic offences. They also want the government to reduce the fines imposed on offenders. News Central's Chinwe Ugali tells us more.
Since the ban on commercial motorcycles as a means of internal transportation in Umuahia and Aba metropolises, the people of the two cities have resorted to the use of keke. Before now, keke operators had operated in every part of the urban cities with absolutely no restrictions. The keke riders say it will be easier to obey the traffic laws if the necessary infrastructure is put in place by the government.
There is no space, no bus stop. All these timas have been disturbing us because of parking along the road. But where are we going to park?
We don't have a bus stop. As of gate now, there is no way that there's no exact place that they tell us to park. If you park, they will come and catch you their place.
But the state government says it wants to instill sanity in the minds of the riders to make the city modern as it should.
We'll discuss that with His Excellency. Some of these that have been built, where for now, His Excellency has done a lot in terms of helping us to do a kind of emergency pickup and drop zones. What we are doing, if you look very well, you see no parking zone with what do you call it, with the safety taps. Who create surgeons, put a man there. You come in, you go out.
The general manager of the agency, Mr. Ezi Chikalo, said the enforcement will help make the riders obey all the laws.
The idea of my agency is not to make money. The idea is to make sure there's sanity on the road. So from that man, we never touch anybody's kicking up again and find out. We started the enforcement December.
Some claim to be law-abiding, while others frown at the imposition of fines for every traffic offence.
They are doing a very good job. Once you are obeying the traffic, you have no issues with them.
The fine they are giving to the seller is much, based on what we are realizing on the keke riding. But as of the defaulters, it's not good.
As disturbing as the operations of keke riders may be, they are what people term as necessary evil, given the vacuum they occupy. In Umuahia News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, says that the Abuja Metro line is about 97% complete. The minister, who had visited the Metro line, one of the projects built for commissioning by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on May the 29th, expressed satisfaction at the work seen on ground. Now, News Central's Amadine Uyi tells us more.
The minister Nyesom Wike arrived at the newly constructed Metro Line terminal in the heart of the capital. From there, he inspected ongoing construction works at the station. Wike then proceeded to the airport terminal to inspect work ongoing at the location. He expressed satisfaction at the work seen on ground.
We are very happy. We're almost 97%. All the works are going on to make sure that May is a reality. And I want to say that as of yesterday, Mr. President has approved the schedule for the commissioning of projects for his 1 year in office. ECC, they were assured of that all the renovation works will be ready before the commissioning date. I believe this will be the first project that Mr. President would like to inaugurate, because it's very key to the development of the economy, particularly as far as FCT is concerned.
Following questions from newsmen, he says that the FCT administration will also invest in other forms of transportation means for residents.
We have told you that we are also putting up 3 terminals for the road transportation. And of course, we are running out our own transport system.
so that we'll be able to contain this one chance criminality we have found in Abuja. By May, you will see that our own transport system will be used, and people will no longer take the risk of entering vehicles that don't know those who are operating the vehicles.
With the metro line now completed, air travelers will now be able to transit from the airport to the heart of the city center by train. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
In Nigeria's northeast, Save the Children International and Borno State government are deepening ties with discussions on extending services to rural communities. The decision came after Nigeria's country director of Save the Children International, Duncan Harvey, and the deputy country director, Fatan Krishinki, visited Maiduguri for strategic engagement with government, an assessment of how to improve their services in the region. Now, News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
The smile of Mariam Umar, a victim of insurgency and blind mother of 12 in Nigeria's northeast. She narrates her ordeals, how doctors saved her and her child battling with life-threatening ailments. There are many of such stories, but officials of the intervening humanitarian response organization are here to assess the services and engage in discussions with government officials on several gray areas.
As we begin to have less of attacks, as IDP camps are being closed in Maiduguri and environs, as more people return to their ancestral homes, we are having more women and children that need attention. Our interventions has to go beyond the urban areas. That way, the impact will be better felt, and at the end of the day, the solution would have become more durable.
And we are conducting security assessments now to see which LGAs we may be able to extend into. I think Mobar is one of those where we are actively considering, and there are others that we would like to work in if the security situation on the ground allows us to.
The primary focus was on child protection, education, health, nutrition, and the implementation of WASH facilities.
We can only achieve sustainable impact by working closely with our government partners, with our local NGOs, with the communities that we work with, and with children themselves. That's what brings impact, that's what brings sustainable change, and that's what we're sort of committed to do.
They visited various sites, including the Herwa Peace Center, Mulay Nutrition and Stabilization Center, and Mega Child-Friendly Space, where children learn different traits.
If we can get assistance for temporary learning center for some of these communities in the state expanded local government and in the existing local government, we'll be very much grateful.
The major issue which the government and the humanitarian actors have to battle with is the number of out-of-school children, lack of adequate water facilities, among others. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Coming up on the news, Free Palestine protest holds in Morocco. We have details of this story and more after the break. The news continues in West Africa, where Senegal's Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko says a new government has been appointed with 25 ministers and 5 junior ministers. The cabinet was approved by the president, that's Bassirou Faye, who was inaugurated on Tuesday and appointed Sonko a key backer as prime minister. The cabinet will be closely watched after Faye made radical campaign promises, such as dropping the CFA franc West Africa common currency. Now, key appointments include Sheikh Diba as finance minister. Diba was previously the finance ministry's director of budget programming. Abdurrahman Sarr was named economy minister. The oil and energy ministry will be led by Birame Souleye Diop, who was vice president of Sonko and Faye's now dissolved PASTEF party. 2 generals were named Interior and Defense Ministers.
De lui proposer une équipe gouvernementale conforme à notre projet pour le Sénégal. Le gouvernement ainsi mis en place ce 5 avril 2024 est un gouvernement de rupture et d'appropriation des aspirations et attentes légitimes des populations. C'est un gouvernement qui incarne le projet, une transformation systémique plébiscitée par le peuple sénégalais le 24 mars 2024 à travers l'élection au premier tour avec 54,28% des suffrages de son Excellence M. Bassirou Diomaye Diakhar Faye, président de la République. Ce gouvernement donc compte 25 ministres et 5 secrétaires d'État. C'est un gouvernement de rassemblement cohérent et rationalisé en termes de ministères. C'est un gouvernement de proximité, un gouvernement d'innovation et d'efficacité, exclusivement au service du bien-être primordial des Sénégalaises et des Sénégalais.
Thousands of persons protest in Morocco's commercial capital, Casablanca, against massacres in the Gaza Strip and against the country's normalization of ties with Israel. The protest, late last night and early this morning, the largest large-scale rally of its kind in Morocco, was called by the banned but tolerated Islamist group, that's Al-Wal Al-Sani. The group also organized similar gatherings in the capital Rabat and the port of Tangier.
تأتي هذه المسيرة الشعبية الحاشدة بمدينة البيضاء للتعبير عن تضامن مع الشعب الفلسطيني واستمرار فعاليات التضامن مع قضية عادلة هي قضية الشعب الفلسطيني الذي تعرض لحرب قذرة وشرسة وظالمة وغير عادلة. نعبر من خلال هذه المسيرة عن شجبنا للصمت الدولي المطبق وعن العز الأممي لوقف هذه الحرب الظالمة ولملاحقة الكيان الصهيوني ورموزه.
كذلك الرسائل التي ترسلها هذه الوقفات وهذه المسيرات هي التنديد بالتطبيع، على اعتبار أن التطبيع الأنظمة العربية مع الكيان الصهيوني هو يعطي ضوء أخضر لهذا الكيان لكي يسير ويزيد في تقتيله وفي سفكه للدماء وفي عدوانه ضد المدنيين. وبأن التطبيع هو سلوك وقرار للحاكمين يخالف قرار الشعب. فطيلة هذه الشهور يعني كانت هناك مسيرات مليونية في الرباط وفي الدار البيضاء وفي كل المغرب، كلها تندد بالتطبيع وكلها تعارض التطبيع، وهي كلها بمثابة استفتاء شعبي. يفترض من الحاكمين أن يستمعوا لإرادة الشعب من أجل تحقيق إسقاط التطبيع والتراجع عن تلك الاتفاقية.
Let's go on a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. Former diplomat and pro-Western Slovakian presidential candidate Ivan Kakok has voted in the second round of the country's presidential election. Kakok faces Peter Pellegrini, a Speaker of Parliament, and a Ukrainian skeptic backed by the ruling populists. A final pre-election poll by the Focus agency puts the two candidates neck and neck, with Pellegrini gaining 51% of the vote and Kakok 49%.
No, Slovakia cannot be different overnight. It's always a process, but I want to be at the beginning of a process, which would mean for the country the improvement of life of our people, and definitely to make clear where Slovakia belongs.
Let's move to the world of business, where last month Ghana's government borrowed 19.90 billion Ghanaian currency via treasury bills, marking a 17% drop from February. Some proceedings were used to refinance that's 14.47 billion cedis in maturities. as yields continue to decline, with the 91-day and 182-day and also 364-day closing at 26%, 28.5% and 29.1% respectively, down by 128, 125 and 120 basis points. Analysts anticipate a sluggish yield decline in April due to extended disinflation and a recent cash reserve ratio hike for banks with low loan deposit ratios. Last week, T-bill demand fell below targets, prompting government to accept all bids, raising 2.35 billion Ghana cedis against a 4.16 billion Ghana cedis target. Now, despite reduced ratios and yields decreased by 25 basis points across all tenors, this week, 2.81 billion Ghana cedis is set to settle 2.58 billion Ghana cedis in refinancing obligations. And staying in business, China has invited Uganda's energy minister to Beijing for discussions on the country's 5 billion crude oil pipeline, potentially signaling progress in securing Chinese funding. Now, Western banks declined financing due to environmental concerns, prompting Uganda to turn to China. President Xi Jinping expressed support for the 1,445-kilometer pipeline in a message to President Yoweri Museveni. Chinese financial institutions are open to talks, inviting Uganda's energy minister for further discussions. The pipeline, East African Crude Oil Pipeline, will stretch from Uganda's oil fields to Tanzania's Tanga port. Despite ongoing discussions with China's Export Credit Agency, deadlines have passed without resolution, as construction has commenced, including transportation of materials and operation of a terminal insulation plant. Bayana forward Thembi believes they will have a better opportunity at turning their Olympic qualification chances around when they face Nigeria back home in South Africa. The Super Falcons carry a slender 1-0 advantage after their CAF Olympic qualifier first leg tie in Abuja, thanks to first half Rashid Ajibade penalty. Now, with the return leg scheduled for Loftus Versfeld Stadium on Tuesday, the player reckons that they have the necessary tools to overcome the Nigerians, who made conditions as difficult as possible at their home ground on Friday. Still in the world of sports, let's also tell you that the Super Falcons will fly out of Nigeria on Sunday night with a slim 1-0 advantage in the first leg ahead of Tuesday's second leg of the last round of 2024 Olympic Games qualifier. Captain Rashid Ajibade's well-taken 42nd-minute penalty separated 9-time African champions Nigeria and regaining a champion South Africa in their Women's Olympic football tournament qualifying match at the MKO Abiola National Stadium on Friday night. Attention has immediately shifted to Tuesday's return leg at the Loftus Versfeld Stadium in Pretoria, where there is still so much to play for, with the Falcons only a goal up in the fixture. The Bayana will fly back to Johannesburg on Saturday morning, while the Super Falcons will fly out of Lagos on Sunday night. Let's also tell you that Nigeria under-16 national team, nicknamed Future Eagles, will trade tackles with Belgium, Italy and England in UEFA under-16 development tournament taking place at the Panata Arena Football Center in San Pedro del Panata. Now, the Future Eagles are presently at the Remo Star Stadium, Ikenne, preparing for the UEFA under-16 tournament before they leave for Spain on Monday. Meanwhile, the Future Eagles continue their preparations for their tournament in Spain with a 2-0 friendly win over Beyond Limited under-15 side in Ikenne. And that's a wrap on the news at this time. But before we go, another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu appoints new management team for NEL Fund. We also told you that Nigeria to introduce new national identity card scheme with enhanced features. France says it is ready to build balanced partnerships in Africa. And that's a wrap on the news. Don't forget to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Abo TV, and YouTube. Thanks for watching. I am Dapo Adegboye. Bye for now.